If you don't mind, Ms. Kareeda, a bit of housekeeping really quickly. So welcome Professional Dimensions to the second series, second production in our lunch series, which is a collaboration between Professional Dimensions and No Studios to focus on some virtual production and programming that will allow more access for our members and beyond, and allow us to bring in excellent guests and really make the most use of their time. My name is Lauren Feaster. I'm the proud CEO of Professional Dimensions, and today we'll be joined by Kareeda, Chones, Aguam, and we will be having a discussion, I think, a little bit about leadership. I like to direct our conversation about the values and the goals of Professional Dimensions, which, just as a reminder, I know you all are excellent students and you read every email I send you, but just in case, I always like to reiterate that we are here to unite women in pursuit of better, and that allows us to do two things. One, wrestle with what better actually looks like, and we have a unique insight into what better does look like because we've been on all different sides of better or worse. And the other side is figuring out how to rally these strong, intentional, forward-thinking women, which is a challenge in itself, around strategy to get us to better. And so that's the work that we get to wake up doing. I always tell people it's not what keeps me up at night, because nothing keeps me up at night, but it is what gets me up in the morning. And I love doing it. And I do want to plug the newsletter because there are several volunteer opportunities. A goal of mine is to have everybody connected to a committee by the end of November. So we really want to start hounding you all. Don't fear. Our last program was about not fearing committees. Fearing committees is like a fear of commitment, but it's impossible to take action without commitment. Think about it. Let that sit with you. You have to commit to something, whether that's an hour a month or an hour a week. We need you, we need your hands in order to keep our mission moving forward. So find something that you like, find something that you've done before or that you've never done before, and just get on board. We need everything from people to greet, from people to steward sponsorships, from people to show up and speak. There's lots of opportunities. I'm looking at Alex with data collection and sorting. There's a little bit, every talent and skill could be put to use, and we can do it together. So there's a plug. Read your email. I won't go through everything. This is our lunch series. You all know we typically do lunch on the second Wednesday of every month, and we do a dinner on the fourth Wednesday of every month. This month being Tech Month, we are going to be joined by Nadia Johnson from Jet Constellations in Milwaukee, Milky Way Tech Hub. So more coming, but just RSVP and get out to these programs and get out to these committees. Okay, so that's my pitch. And now we're going to get back to who you all came for, and many of you had the opportunity to meet today, and we were joking when we came in here, who I have been just following, watching for as long as she has been leading in Milwaukee, which she'll talk more about, who I just have so much respect for. You all saw her bio, we sent it out, you all probably looked it up, you all know all of that good stuff, so I'm not gonna read a bio, but I am gonna say one of the reasons why I was really excited that Alicia connected and was able to get Kareeda here is because I am very intentional about the way people lead. Like, leadership can come in a lot of forms. It could come through what's inherited. It can come through like a positioning or nomination. It can come from you actually uniting and building large groups of people from that more organizing standpoint. And what's so important to realize alongside that is the way that you do it. And Kareeda has in every move, if you've tracked her the way that I've tracked her or beyond, you noticed her value of people, you notice her commitment to relationships, you notice her willingness to just say yes and show up in spaces because they are better for everyone, not just maybe centering or targeting what she's working on in the moment, but she really prioritizes being a good human. Like, for me, that's the theme. And so you will learn more as we get through today, but I did want to take a moment to allow you to share too, introduce yourself in the way that you would like to be introduced. Yeah. When we all leave this program, this is what we're going to say about Kareeda, because this is what came from your mouth and what we should uplift. So first, join me in welcoming Ms. Kareeda, and then
Thank you.
Please do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Lauren, thank you not only for bringing me here today to meet an amazing group of women, but for what you're doing for women in general, the city, the state, the region. I've watched you too, so you might say you're stalking me. I'm stalking you too, cute baby girl. But no, what you're doing and what you do for our community is bring and unite women. So when I did talk to Alicia and had this opportunity, I said, well, of course I'm going to come and have a conversation with Lauren. This is my coffee that I've wanted for years. Right, so I'm very happy about that. I think when I talk about how I introduce myself, as you said, that my bio is out there, but one thing you spoke about that is who I am is human. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about it, and I continue to talk about that. When I go back to where it all started for me, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, I'm the oldest of 5 children. And something that mom and dad always instilled in us that I always talk about are our 3 Ds, desire, determination, and dedication. And that's something that has been within all of us our entire career, our time in high school and college. And that's something that's in the back of my mind. But those 3 things tied with being a good human, that's what's been the change. That's the kind of leader I am. That's what I believe in. That's what I try to instill in not only my team, but my children, and relationships. If I don't feel that it's a good human connection, you're not going to be on my team. We're probably not going to be friends, and you won't be in my orbit. So I think those are things that are so important for me, and quick takeaways, but we can go into more about that.
I love that. Yeah. No, it's important. A lot of what we're trying to do by bringing women to who have accomplished just so much from a corporate business, real world standpoint is also show that these are not nice to haves, but you making a choice to treat people correctly, to think about inclusion. It's been a part of your journey. Yep. I'm going to take a pause because you mentioned family, and in all my following you, I saw that you and your sister, who is also in the sports world,
she is.
Right? You all were at the Leading Women CEO Summit at the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, that was
I
cool.
thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. So if you would, and I didn't get to make it, you know.
Okay.
I was
sorry, I forgot the invite.
Since I wasn't there, and I don't know that you all made it either, I was wondering if you would just share some highlights from that moment beyond like spending time with family, but how you were selected to lead and speak, and what were the things that were coming up for those women?
For sure. First off, shout out to my sister, who is a bad boss in her own right. My younger sister is a player development director for the New York Knicks, so she's been in the NBA for years too, formerly with the Timberwolves and Puma brand. So a couple years ago, she and I did a panel discussion for Elizabethtown University. A friend of ours is a professor there, and we hadn't done this before. I mean, we grew up together, we're best friends, and we're always on the phone together talking about our journey. And a friend of ours said, hey, would you come talk to my class about your journey and your life in sports and how you have a really unique background? And we're like, okay. So we get on the phone virtually. It was during COVID. And we start going, we're telling our story, we're joking, and we get off the phone. I was like, damn, I didn't even know all that about you. Just like, I didn't know that about you either. So we had a great rapport, and we were like, we should do this a little more often. So since then, we've done a couple of panel discussions, just kind of talking about our journey, how we are as leaders, how hopefully things that we learned in our past can resonate with someone. And a lot of times we'll get done and say, I don't know, doesn't it even mean anything to anyone? But the messages, the conversations, and the feedback that we've received it's a unique journey, but it's something for everyone, and that's been really important for us. So fast forward to a couple months ago, Fiserv is one of our naming rights partner, obviously Fiserv Forum, one of the clients that I work with day in and day out. Became pretty close with their CEO, and actually last year they asked me to come and speak, but I was out of town, it didn't work out. And this year, we got an invite again. They said, actually, we know your sister's with the Knicks. Why don't you guys come and, present to us? And I said, whoa, I need some time to prep for a presentation, but I'll do a fireside chat, So they invited us both, and my sister Kayla's already in New York, so we flew out. We kind of talked about before the event, what we were going to speak on, who these women were. So Fiserv CEO Frank Bisignano, wonderful man, has a CEO summit every year. He invites 50 to 60 CEO bankers from across the country, female bankers. So when we got the ask, we were like, wait, you want us to speak to who, And then one of the moderators that was going to be at the event with us, she's one of their global leaders. So we get on the phone for this prep call, and we were so nervous. Like, I usually don't get as nervous because just telling my story is who I am. And I was nervous to meet this woman. I'm like, this is like big time, you know. So Kayla and I get on the phone, and she was nervous. The woman was nervous to meet us. She's like, oh my God. And we're like, really? But had great rapport. So we get to the New York Stock Exchange, which was an experience in itself. It's amazing. It's on lockdown. When I tell you, we had to walk like a couple blocks. We didn't wear heels. We did tennis shoes for sure. But we walked a couple blocks to get there, and it was just an amazing experience. And you asked what the conversation was. A lot of it wasn't, it was about leadership. It was about our journey, but it was also just about being a female in the business world. What are the challenges? Because you know what? The challenges I have are probably challenges that a lot of them have. It kind of humanized all of us. Balance, what is that? We'll get into that later because there's no such thing. That was something else we spoke about. That was something else we spoke about. And then just how do we continue to do things for ourselves? How do we grow our teams? How do we become better people, wives, mothers? Like it was really, we went so fast. After like 45 minutes, we're like, we're done. And we're like, yeah, that's it. Then we went to see the bell getting rung, and it was great. So great to see my sister. My mom flew in from Cleveland because she's never seen us do any of this. So that was an honor as well.
That's really cool. Thank you for bringing us into that. There are so many cool things happening that we can't possibly get to all of them. So getting kind of that download was awesome. You spoke to a lot of things that resonate with us as women. You talked about the fact that we share challenges and we share stories across sectors, across experiences, across identities. How did you get into the work of advancing women? And I see recently, too, that you've joined the advisory council of IWL. And so if you want to just speak a little bit, too, we're coming off of Homecoming Month, which is what we have every September when everyone comes back after summer. And we just reorient ourselves to why we're here and why it's so important to be a part of this movement that's so much bigger than us individually and bigger than us as professional dimensions. You all are our sisters in the work, our partners in the work. We want to be behind you as well. We want to understand, I think, hearing your perspective on why you stay close to this women's advancement work.
For me, it's because coming up in this business, I've been with the Bucks now 25 years. I mean, I know I started at 12. I look good. Now, I've been in there a long time, and when I started, there was not a lot of people that looked like me, be it female, be it minority. So I had to pave my own way, and it was hard. Like, everyone has challenges, and I'm not saying my challenge was any more or better than anyone else's, but it was really hard to have no one to look up to, working hard every day, not knowing what I should be speaking up on, no one there to support me. I didn't have the tribe I have now. So if I can do anything I can to help the next woman of color, I'm going to do that. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I joined IWL to help advancement of women and girls in equity and inclusion. That's why everything I do, I make sure my daughter and son know exactly what mommy does and why it's so important. And my husband is there to support me as well. And I don't necessarily, I know one of the questions was talking about mentors to help me in this space. It's not really a mentor. I think it's a tribe. It's a tribe of women that I can talk to you today and not maybe talk in 2-3 months, but I know you got my back. I know you're there for me. We pick up where we left off. I think that's so important and key. So for me, it's only because I want to help the next person because I didn't have that. And have since grown an amazing network of professional women throughout the state, the country. And I want that for everyone else. Because can you imagine if we all had the support system that we deserve? Wow, we'd be running things as we should and do.
Absolutely, right, exactly. And I love to talk about the support system. I often compare it, some of you have heard this analogy in the past, but this is our second lunch series, so we're gonna get it on camera this time. The analogy of just like that net, right, and risk. And we all know that there's so much more reward in some of the deeper risks we take, and we're allowed to take more risk when we have a net, right? It's like walking across a tightrope. When you know there's a net there versus not, you can take the risk and go the speed to get you to the other side. And I think that that's what you're describing when you talk about just having the support, having the network, and things to fall back on. Let's talk, and so that was kind of, we were in the space of, we're thinking about meaningful action and the actions that we take. You talked about, you didn't name it specifically, but basically advocacy and your ability to show up for other people. We have a Ideation Summit coming up on the 8th, November 8th. We'll be at Alverno College, so make sure you all go online, grab your tickets. We are talking about advocacy, the power of advocacy in that space. I'm curious how you feel like you've been an advocate or how you've seen people advocate in support of you, and what you advocate for, like why it's necessary for sustainable impact.
Yeah, I would say, as far as advocacy for me, I think for me to have had the success that I have gotten to and hope to continue is because there are people that have spoken on my behalf. I always tell this story, and I can ramble for days, but when our new ownership came in about 9 years ago, we all had to re-interview for our jobs. It was extremely stressful. I was pregnant with my son, my second child at the time, and I remember we had a conversation. Peter, who's our current president, was more of a consultant at the time. Fast forward, team is purchased, Peter becomes our president, and he calls me in, a couple days into the job, and his assistant says, "Hey, Peter wants to go to lunch." And I was like, "Oh no, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my job. Okay, what is going on, And we get to lunch and we start talking, and he says, "Hey, I wanna know all about you, Kareeda." And I was like, "Okay, this is what I do, these are our clients." "Nope, I don't care about that. Tell me about Kareeda." And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So we sat there for 2 hours and we had a conversation, really getting to know each other. He genuinely wanted to know about me. And he said, "There's been a lot of people in my ear about this Kareeda." And I was like, who are you talking about? He's like, "Doesn't matter, I don't need to name names, but I've been told the value that you could bring to the organization. We wanna make sure we keep you happy, keep you here, and all that good stuff." So I'm all saying that to say, when we talk about advocacy, it's not always someone who's your mentor, someone that you know, it could be other people. So that's why I think it's so important. The impression you make on people, how you engage with people, how you treat people, that human factor, it all comes full circle. So that's where I talk about how we can advocate for one another. As far as other people advocating for me advocating for others, I think that's so important. The one important thing to remember, you need to, as a leader, which we all are, is speaking to those individuals, speaking for those individuals, and speaking about those individuals. So when they're in the room, when you're face to face with them, when you're in other circles, how are you continuing to raise them up when they're not there? That's where it's been helpful for me.
Nope, I love that. And you talking about Peter too gets to, we have a lot of women who are managing a lot of folks too, and not ignoring our role as managers and supporters or consultants in being good to people, being good advocates for things as well. Being somewhere for 25 years is a pretty incredible retention number there, but you were involved in your own retention as well. Can you talk about maybe some of the challenges you might have navigated, or the ways that you were able to get support to stay in this space for 25? Obviously not in the same role. I think you said 9 years ago was when you kind of, when things changed over, but that's a significant time to be somewhere, especially now. Like, people are in jobs for 2-3 years. I'm in my 4th year PD. I want to let you all know that. Okay. But I think I'm interested in what your thoughts are on your responsibility for your own retention in that space, and also what you felt like your organization did to really make sure that they kept you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think when leadership came in, we'll say 9 years ago, I was definitely at a point in my career where I was like, you know what, I'm good. It's time for me to probably move on. And for me, I kind of blame myself, because I did have that complacency. I like the games, it's fun, love the senator, all that he's done for myself, my family, the organization, the city. I'm good here. Yeah, it's fine. And I didn't really challenge myself. Right when I got to the point of wanting to challenge myself, looking for other opportunities, being open for that, leadership changed. And I said, okay, maybe I'll just kind of give this a try and see how it turns out. For me, for many others, it was a really great opportunity, because it was a new mindset and a new leadership that understood the importance of having diverse thought. Giving Kareeda, for instance, the resources she needs to succeed. Before new leadership, I had one person on my team managing, whatever our budget is. Now, fast forward, I have 14 young leaders that I can now not only manage and grow, but we're growing the business exponentially. That's where you have to grow. That's the support to really challenge, give the resource, and enable to do your job. It really took me a while with my current leader. I would go to him for everything. So what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I'm gonna go to the bathroom. It was ridiculous how I'd worked for years. At some point, he would just look at me and say, "I don't know, what do you think?" And I was like, whoa. But learning from that and how he's now enabled me to make those decisions and help grow the business is key. And in my mind, how I then translate to grow my next wave of leaders that are on my team.
I love that, and I love his feedback through inquiry. I think inquiry is such a foundational way of providing feedback and bringing people along. You kind of mentioned this, but kind of a larger, more philosophical question, but one that I get often is around the business case for inclusion or the business case for equity. You just described that you value on your team, one, how people are treated and the type of people that you are bringing around you, being people with innovative and diverse thoughts. How would you answer that question when people are talking about the business case for more equitable work and working in a more equitable way?
Yeah, I think that's really the only way we're going to move forward in any business. If everyone looks like me, how are we going to move forward? Because how I think many times might be similar to you. But if we bring someone else in the room that looks different, feels different, and has the confidence and the support from us to speak up, that's how we're going to move business forward. So for me, when I'm bringing in members of my team, Alicia's met many of the members on my team, it's all about who you are, your thought, and development opportunities, but also bringing a different view to the table. And I'm so supportive of wanting to make sure when we have a team meeting, which we'll have one this afternoon, I'm going to ask every pod to talk about what's new, what's happening, what's going on. Not only do I care about what's happening to generate revenue, because that's why we're there, but also giving you the opportunity to develop that confidence, to develop your growth, because without it, how are we going to continue to grow as an organization?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to pivot in just a second, but I wanted to pause and see if there were any questions from our studio audience or online. You all have more time to kind of give feedback and jump in, but I wanted to take a pause and do that. I also wanted to acknowledge our sponsors for today's program. We have Power Forward Media, who are in the back and do an incredible job. I was last hanging out with Power Forward at the Pfizer Forum for
cool.
the Chambers breakfast, so it was really cool. They were incredible. We were on the screen. It was awesome. So definitely, if you're looking for some video production, a Black company here in Milwaukee that does excellent work, check out Power Forward Media. We also have the Village Milwaukee, which is it's a social enterprise and support network for Black leaders, Black nonprofit executives, who was also a supporter of this year's program. Today's program. If you would like to be involved in that, please let me know. I wanted to get back to, so when I asked some of the members about questions to ask you, they were like, we don't hear enough from leaders about some of the times where it was really difficult. Mm-hmm. So one, and I think over time we might have different reactions. Like I am very appreciative of the hard things that I've gone through, and now it sounds sometimes when I frame them, it's like it was a positive, but at the time it was not. Yep. Didn't feel like a positive moment. Do you want to speak to maybe some of the challenges that you maybe experienced in just your career trajectory, personally or professionally, or both? Yep. Because we are multidimensional, and we talk about that a lot here at Professional Dimensions, of the many dimensions that should be affirmed and seen. If you could share things that maybe you had to navigate or moments that you were stuck, I'd be interested in that.
One challenge that I've definitely talked about is how early on in my career there wasn't the support, especially amongst the females that we had. So there's one instance where I know our leaders years before, this is prior to new leadership, a number of people were getting promoted. And I remember having a conversation with one of my leaders at the time, and they said, yeah, this is the title you're going to get. It's a great opportunity. And lo and behold, I find out that one of the females had gone kind of behind my back and was like, yeah, this wasn't right, and really kind of complained. And as a result, I didn't get this level. I got this level, but not what I was supposed to get. So as far as not supporting one another, that was kind of one of my first experiences of like, is this real life? Like, is this really happening? Oh, and you're listening? Wow, okay. So right then I probably should have jumped ship, but I didn't, you know. So how do you navigate that, right? So for me, I remember going home really upset, talked to my husband and my sister mom about it, and just really realized, okay, I got to make a point. Is this somewhere where I'm going to stay? Is this somewhere where I have longevity? Or is it time for me to pivot? And I think at that point in my career, I was kind of like, okay, I think this is time to kind of test the waters, and which I, became kind of looking and searching. And then, as I said, new leadership came in. I wanted to give it a shot, and thank God it worked out for me. So that's kind of one of the challenges, is just supporting one another. There's always room at the table for everybody. I just believe that there is. So that was really hurt me. And to this day, to remember that and talk about that, because I think as women in your organization or in your life, you got to be there for one another. And I'm a believer in karma. Yeah. Know that. So, yeah.
I believe that too.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Karma can be good or bad. I believe, right?
Absolutely.
Karma is a proud PD member, and I'm just happy to have her around. Sticking with this, what do you think, what is the distance to go? So like when you think about, you talked about revenue generation, obviously you work in partnerships, so you're partnering with the Molson Coors or Pfizer, or whoever is partnering with the
Anheuser-Busch and Beechwood.
Yeah, oh, okay, oh, sorry, yeah, yes, you're right, X that. How do you think about, like, where is the distance to go? I know there's like the business side, but also you stay pretty in touch from like a social side, and there's links between that, but if you're thinking about overcoming challenges, if you're thinking about a more ideal or better world, whether that's for you, Kareeda, personally, in the ecosystem you operate in, and Milwaukee, on a more, larger range, what are those things that you're like, we could do this a little bit better,
Yeah, I think it still stems back to support. I think an organization like Professional Dimensions is one that needs to continue to get out there, amplify women in an even better place. So I think for me, however I can use my resources, be it in the community, be it within the Bucks and the organization, how I continue to amplify what you're doing, what we're doing, that's where I think we're going to continue to grow, and that's kind of where I think this can, this ultimately can expand to.
Absolutely. And then to kind of close out this piece, when do you know it's time to pause? Because I imagine in the position
Like
that you sit in, like take a break, whether that's just however you define that pause. I mean, I've been seeing a lot, and maybe I'm just attuned to it because I know a lot of these women, but a lot of women have been stepping out of their careers, transitioning with not necessarily a destination, but they've reached a point where they're like, maybe the point kind of where you were kind of contemplating, how do I continue?
Yep.
I've been noticing that, and I'm wondering, as someone who's kind of as established and successful as you are, you probably get a ton of requests to be everywhere and to do everything. How are you knowing when it's time to just like pause, or what does that look like? You said we talk about balance later too, but what are your thoughts on that? Well,
I definitely, as far as my career, I'm very happy, love what I do. I hope I'm able to be there for a very long time. But when you talk about taking a pause, it's a great question, and it's something that I'm asked a lot. What do you do for yourself? How do you balance? So I'll answer the balance question first. There's no such thing, and it's okay. It's either, for me, I'm present where I am. Right now, I'm with you wonderful ladies having a great conversation. That's where I am. Tonight when I'm home, I try to put my phone, laptop down. I'm present with my husband and my children. When they go to bed, it's different, But someone asked me not too long ago, Kareeda, what do you do for yourself? And the fact that I did not have a good answer was kind of embarrassing, right? But this past summer, I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret, but this past summer we had every other Fridays off, summer Fridays. So you all know that, and my sister knows that, and that was it. So on Fridays, kids would go off to camp, husband works, see you later, bye. And I would be, if it's a spa day, if I'd go to the St. Kate, maybe answer some emails, work on another kind of a business venture I'm working on, have a couple champagnes, take some calls. 5:30, I'd roll home. Oh my God, I had a great day, guys. Let's have dinner. That was it. So for me, that was great. It was such a tough day.
Crazy day I had.
Oh yeah, I'm in the car. Yeah. But that for me, that little bit really kept me sane. I know I need to do a lot more, and I'm not saying I'm good at it, and we do need that for each other. You need those mental breaks because it does get to a level of exhaustion. You're working all day. Maybe for some of you, it's coming home, running a household, cleaning and cooking, taking care of a family or other needs. You have to take that time. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm still a work in progress.
No, I appreciate that. Any questions? I have some more business-related questions that I want to ask. Any questions from anyone here? Okay. So as I'm looking out in the audience and I'm looking through our chat, we have a lot of women that either have their own businesses, are in a position of generating revenue, things like that. As you think about the folks that you partner with, what are things that they have in common?
I would say for the most part, they all have a mentality of how we work together, teamwork, relationship building. So what we do, we develop partnerships for clients and businesses across the world. One common thread is all about relationships. I can name all 75, 80 of our clients. The relationships that my team has with these individuals is what helps move our business forward. We literally have leadership that'll say, you know what, the culture of that business, the way they treat our employees, the way they treat their employees, that's just not a good fit. And they'll pass up on dollars, because I've literally sat in the room and have seen that. So for me, it's that common thread. It goes back to that human factor. To be aligned with one of the best brands in the world is huge, and it's great. But we stem from a good culture of people that want to work hard and want to work hard for your brand. But if we don't have a fit, it's okay, because luckily, when you have Giannis and others, we're a business that we can go and hopefully find that revenue elsewhere, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's good. So it's interesting seeing you on the side of, you're also in a position of generating revenue, which I think sometimes we don't always consider when there was a question that came up here talking about it being difficult to secure corporate sponsors for the small arts nonprofit I work for. Do you have advice or learning to share as we reach out to potential partners? I'll let you answer that question, but what I'm hearing from what you're saying too is that everyone's in the business of generating revenue at some level or some capacity, and a lot is rooted in connections, relationships, trust, yep, and the way you treat people, which is what I am personally trying to elevate and shift. This is a grandiose goal that I'm going to probably be working on the rest of my life, but shifting the way that we look at success, the way that we look at the things that we value, because that's very anti-capitalism, mm-hmm, to like be thinking more about just like community advancement and how we treat people, right, and the triple bottom line or double bottom line. But it's interesting to hear you reflect on, from your own standpoint, the types of partnerships that you, yep, want, the types of partnerships you'll pass on. Yep. So that said, if you had comments on that, but then also this question about what around the raising funds or the struggle with securing relationships as they reach out to partners.
I think the biggest thing that I think could be parallel in how they reach out to partnerships and how we is first starting with the conversation. So our partnerships, we have dollars that range from, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 partnerships up to over millions of dollars. They all start with one conversation, and that's what I would say for those small businesses, right? The ones that you're targeting, having a conversation, understanding what their wants and objectives are, that's for everybody. I don't care how much money or what sort of business you are. How can my business help you, and vice versa? Do I have the assets and the resources to help amplify your brand or drive traffic or help create awareness? You have to have those conversations first. So we never will walk into a partner and say, hey, here's a deck, here are some spots, here's some tickets, because I don't even know you yet. So how are you able to sell me any sort of product or any sort of service unless I understand who you are and what you can bring to the table? So for us, that's what it starts with. All of our salespeople, my team is on calls weekly with our partners, constantly developing those relationships. Once you're a partner with us, we're your friends for life, essentially. We always say if the deal looks the same on day one as it does at the end, we haven't done our job. We're constantly cultivating those relationships, making sure you're happy. Are we meeting your objectives? Oh, you got a new business. Okay, let's see how this works here. Oh, this isn't working for you? Okay, let's change it up. You got to be real with people. You got to be human, but it starts with a conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And hopefully if there's any follow-ups, I know that was a question that came in online, please do. We have another question that came in online. What key advice do you give to younger female professionals looking to grow and learn from from the experience you've gained in your successful career? So key advice to give younger female professionals who are looking to grow and learn.
Get to know and grow your network. And
That's
what
right.
does grow your network mean? Meeting people at events like this. LinkedIn, every time I have a panel discussion, it's always, I'll get lists of requests. That's totally fine. Let's have a 10-minute conversation, coffee conversation. Let me tell you my journey, you tell me yours. Making those connections, not just when you want a job, not just when you're trying to get the next leg up. Oh, hi, Alicia, nice to see you again. Okay, so tell me about your journey. Great. Now I know you, now I have a face to a name. You never know what opportunities or connections that can be made for you. So broadening your network is step one.
Yeah, I love that. And the relationship to me speaks to the prioritization as well. So like prioritize, it's like submitting it's like a cold call versus like, a relationship that's been cultivated over time that you're looking for that request. I really like that. Any other questions that are coming in out here? Okay, I'm gonna keep pausing and asking because I think, like I said, inquiry is a great way to learn. Side note, you mentioned champagne, and I saw that there was a new champagne partnership. Is that that's going on
Oh,
in the pre-games. It's
Baller
there already.
champagne.
Okay.
Yes. So
Quick intermission.
one of our initiatives is trying to reach out to international partners. So there's an international team marketing partnership program through the NBA. We've kind of flipped it and kind of went to the countries outside of the United States to try and bring those brands here, help with distribution. Baller Champagne came in about a month ago. Out of the UK, they only have deals with the Miami Heat and us, which is great.
That's
okay,
cool. All
right?
Sure.
And their product is amazing. Learned so much about champagne, more than just drinking. But yeah, so that's one of our newest partners.
So random
great.
aside, but I wanted to bring that up because I noticed that. And then another kind of quick fire question. We talk a lot about one of our 5 values is continuous learning. I think that that's also something that I look for, that I feel like the people that I want to spend time with are continuous learners, hard stop, people who want to learn, people who want to think differently about their experiences, and people who want to be different. If you were to teach a master class on any topic, and I think this is a good question for all of you, I'm going to ask you all the same question. A master class on any topic, what would it be about? And I have some ideas of what I think you could maybe teach a master class on, but I'm interested in what you might be able to. And also, like, you all know a lot. Women, I don't know, I experience this a lot with women. Try to act like you don't know stuff. And like, it's like we got a lot of skills and talents that we could be sharing. So I'm very interested in that. What do you think you would teach a master class on?
I would definitely talk about my journey, but more than anything about always being innovative. You don't know everything. Always be curious, ask questions, and continually learning. So on our team, we have mental library. I almost send too many emails that they're like, okay, done, stop. But I'll send, great article here, here's a book. So I think constantly wanting to learn and how that's kind of helped shape my life, our lives, we have to. Because if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
I love that. We have a lot to offer. I'm planting a seed here because I like to speak things into existence. That is an interest of our current president, Shanae Jenkins, who's leading the organization right now. She's interested in just starting with some of that masterclass. So if you all are percolating on some ideas, something that you just know well, it doesn't have to be I think 5 minutes, 10 minutes of content. What could you come in, share, and boom, you just educated a bunch of people. Like my masterclass obviously would be on figuring out Kareeda's partnerships and making sure you all know about this baller champagne that's coming. That would be my masterclass.
Everybody has a story.
Everybody's got a story.
Yes.
There's a couple more questions in here. How do you define success?
Success for me is getting home and seeing a happy son and daughter that know that the time that mommy does spend away from them, leaving the house every day except for every other Fridays, is everything that I do is for them. Mm-hmm. That's success for me.
Yeah. And I had a moment when you were reflecting on your mother watching you and your sister on stage of like, what are we really here for? What are we here for? What are we here to do? Do you feel like your definition of success builds and grows? Like I know that's like what you just named is like a very staple, fundamental, like whole answer. Are there other elements as you think about career or as you think about the evolution of maybe what's celebrated externally versus what you maybe think should be celebrated externally or that you're thinking about individually?
Yeah, I think, outside of that piece, what I hope these opportunities are bringing to other women, that's success. The feedback, the emails, the text messages on just little things that I may have said that can help change someone's life, that's success to me. It's not all about me. It's not. It's not how my message can help others. That's greater than me.
I love that. A couple more questions that came up. A couple folks are jumping in with their masterclass ideas here. That's funny. If you weren't doing what you do now, other than your Fridays off in the spa, what would you be doing?
So my other passion, or probably my number one passion outside of my job, is voice work. So I'm also the voice of Fiserv Forum, if you don't. So when you come to Fiserv Forum, I'm the one that says, welcome to Fiserv Forum. That's me. So I've been doing voiceover work, commercials for over 20 years. That's what I would be doing outside of this right now. We built a studio this summer in my under my stair at home. So If I could sit in PJs and do, video or audio work across the world every day, I'd be there. Love my job, but like love that. Yeah. So that's what I would do.
And we didn't spend a ton of time on your evolution. I know you were a basketball player for Marquette. I was listening to another interview you did, one of 6 D1 folks in the building. I think, first of all, I think athletes and folks who were involved in team activities just think differently and approach things differently. So that's really cool to see, and to see that was just like a staple of excellence in your household. Did you have anything to share about that kind of like upbringing prior to the Bucks? Yeah,
we're a very rare family. So my father played at Marquette as well. I played in the NBA for about 11 seasons, and as I said before, I'm the oldest of 5 of us. And we all played Division I basketball. So at some point, we still think we're the only family that's ever had 6 D1 basketball players. So Dad was at Marquette, I was at Marquette. My sister's an All-American from NC State. And then I have the boys are triplets, the guys. I can't call them boys anymore. They're 40. 2 played at Colgate and 1 played at Brown. So that for us, that basketball has been our life. So when people say what else you would do outside of this is really all I've kind of grown up. I've been in this business for a long time. So yeah, that's us.
Awesome. That's cool. I'm biased. I was gonna do a 2 truths and a lie for you all about like what Kareeda and I had in common. I love that you are the voice of the Fiserv. Now when we're there, we can say, we met Kareeda. We know that's Kareeda up there. Like, okay, another question popped in from the chat. Each workplace is full of different work styles and emotions. What advice would you give to new managers on creating safe spaces for colleague appreciation and productivity?
I think it all starts, we've talked about the theme of the day as being human. So with my team, to create that culture is creating those relationships one-on-one. So every week I have a one-on-one with all my direct reports, and we don't just jump into business right away. So we sit down and we'll say, hey, Lauren, okay, if you're comfortable telling me what's going on outside of work, that's fine, but how are you doing? How's your family? Anything you need from me in that space? Okay, let's go a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about work. We talk a little about bandwidth. And then I ask, is there anything else I can do for you? And I'm not asking just because it's a checklist on my computer. It's because I genuinely care. I'm telling you guys, it changes the trajectory because I genuinely care about everyone on my team. I can tell you about personal or things that they're struggling with, and you manage everybody differently too. My one-on-one might be different with Lauren than it might be with Alicia or Cecilia or someone else. But genuinely remembering all those things, following up with people, and genuinely care. When I come to work and know that my leader cares about me and my family, I'm working that much harder. And at the end of the day, that's how your bottom line is going to continue to grow. So that's where we start. So a culture, at least the culture on our team, we work so hard to make sure we have that teamwork ethic. Many of them are athletes, some aren't. But in order to be on our team, you got to be willing to work for everybody. And that's really important and key.
Talk about the time with that. So when I was watching, when we had all the trades going on and we were there, I think
that was
there was
fun.
a press yeah, I'm sure it was crazy. I saw like Giannis said something about the fact that, Giannis is on this big like, I'm gonna let Dame be Dame thing, right? And I like that. And he mentioned like, because we have not played together, we have to be even more intentional about like the time that we do spend together to kind of expedite that. We have to watch film. We have to, we just have to take another level of time and attention if we want to build something. I think sometimes we want to rush. Sometimes we don't, and honestly, sometimes we don't have the time to build over years and build that type of relationship. But do you think that there are ways to expedite through research, through film, like relationships that are going to be critical to how you operate as a team?
I think so, and I think it's all about what you look at as success for Giannis and Dame. It's all about success, getting that championship. In the boardroom, it's all about raising that revenue, keeping a good culture. So one thing that I think is so key in the success that these guys are talking about too is knowing your role. Whether you're on the court, whether you're in the boardroom. The year of the championship, Pat Coddington was interviewed, and they said, how are you guys so successful? What's the success of this team going to stem from? He said, we know our roles. He's like, I'm not Giannis. I know I'm not Giannis. If I got to give 10 minutes and a couple defense and a rebound, I'm good. We know what our job is to support Giannis. So on our team, I know that I'm not maybe the best in Adobe Photoshop, but I'm going to bring the experts on my team that know how to do it because we're all going to rise together. So that's the key, and that's the important. What value do you bring to the table? How do you all work together, and how does that equate to success?
Yeah, Yeah, I am big on the roles. I think that is.
I don't know everything. It's
Oh
okay.
my gosh. And I feel, even in like this position, as I'm thinking about professional dimensions, I think we're always trying to say, what is the lane that we fill? Not that there can't be multiple
Correct.
organizations or ways to serve. There's multiple teams. There's things that you want to do, but knowing how you play on a team, and I'm here for a good basketball analogy because that's like it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
And often when I talk about the largest challenge with what I feel like in this city, coming from a lot of, social sector work, our biggest problem is that there's no I feel like there's no coach. Like there's no strategic plan. There's no knowing the role and then keeping people in the role,
Right.
which is what I feel like leaders have to do.
Yep. Yeah,
Right.
you have to. You put them in the position, but then you let them grow. I realize that just because I give you a project, you might not do it the same way I would do it, but we'd still get the same results. You have to be able to let go as a leader. That's why you bring in a
Yeah.
great team. If your team's not good, then that's going to reflect on you, and that's on you, right? But if you bring in the good team that knows how to work together, want to support each other and be productive, then you have to let go. Then you have to be able to delegate, and you kind of watch and you halo and you continue to grow and steer, similar to raising children, right?
Yeah.
But in a good way, and I think that's how everyone else continues to rise.
What are ways that we get in our own way as women when we're thinking too about our teams? Because I think about issues when I think about workplace challenges too. Some folks are in positions where if they actually kind of speak up about what their role is or what their role isn't, it sometimes is perceived as like not being a team player, which then leads to a lot of women just doing above and beyond, and then leads to burnout or lack of compensation. How are there ways that we can kind of go back to that self-advocacy or move out of our own ways sometimes in the way that we think about our progress towards our own role or our own success?
Well, I think one is speaking up for yourself is one. That's a really kind of key takeaway. But I also think being able to, I'm trying to put my words together. That'll be in the right way. But being solution focused is one. Not overworking, delegating, but also thinking of how you can bring things together to have a solution. Not just focus on I'm going to work until burnout. Okay, what's the best solution? Who can I put in that place to help get to that solution? Because it's not all on me. Because you will burn out, and once you burn out, it's over. Like it really is. It really is hard. So how do you continue to bring those resources, ask for help, develop that confidence in yourself and the people that you bring around you?
Yeah, and I love that. Like burnout is bigger than that individual too.
For sure.
Because I look at every woman that is in a position as progress,
Yeah.
right? And so your burnout then means that we're going back to the 10 years before you started, because who's filling that position?
Yeah.
And if you've not thought about your plan after you might have changed some culture, but you being there was a part of the
Yep,
win.
for
And I think sometimes as women, we don't realize that our existence, I know a lot of men who believe this. They're like, my existence is the blessing. You're welcome that I'm here, and you can ask me questions, right? Like, but we don't ever approach that. We don't necessarily approach it that way, and I'd love to see more of that, where it's like, no, like our existence here as individuals, and I've said this to professional dimensions, our existence as an organization, right? Like the fact that we exist is often enough because of what it took to be there and of what it took to exist and what our existence means. And so I think that that's such a good point. So then our burnout can represent something, yes, it's a freeing of that individual and them going back into finding themselves in their purposeful pause, but it also makes me worried about like our plans for succession when we've come so far to hold these positions and operate in these spaces. And so I appreciate the note about just burnout, but also like how we're here for each other and how we're taking into consideration what we're here to do on a more large scale. Let's see, we had one other question, and then we're gonna do some quick fire as we wrap up because we're getting to time. Therese said, you mentioned you are constantly learning, and is there a book or article you have read lately that you would recommend?
Lately, not that I'd recommend. I'm in a book club, and I wouldn't give you guys those books because they're not going to happen. But there is one book that I always speak to that I read back in early in my career that really kind of helped me. It was one of the best confidence builders I've ever had in my life. So it's called Know Your Value by Mika Brzezinski. She's with MSNBC, I believe. And it really talks about knowing your value. And it talks about how we as women, a little bit what you talked about, our male counterparts, there was one instance in the book, looking for a raise, looking for opportunity, would go into their leader and say, hey, yeah, this is what I want, and if I don't get it, I'm out. And they had the confidence. They didn't necessarily have all the proof, but that's the confidence that our male counterparts would have. Whereas we as women would say, hey, don't mean to bother you. Do you have a sec? I'm not really sure. And I remember reading that book, and I was kind of in that whole transition, and I remember going to our past leadership, and I had my receipts, because you had to have them. We had to have more than, and I sat down at the table, and I said, this is what I've done, this is the value I bring to the organization, this is what I think I need here to continue to succeed. And I wasn't apologizing for it. And the response was a lot more better than what I had assumed, right? I just knew they were going to be like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. Oh, wow, yeah, we do see your value. This is great. Yeah, you're good. Damn, I didn't ask for enough, but that's all right. But so that book really, from that point on, changed my life and how I perceive myself, how I speak to others. Like, we've got to bust down those doors just like our male counterparts. You got to go in there with just as much confidence as your male counterparts, but have your receipts, because a lot of times you need that.
Gotta have receipts.
Always.
You gotta have receipts. Okay, as we wrap up, I had a couple quick fire questions that you all should also be ready to answer to. I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but I think that they're good things to know. One question I have, one person you want to meet in Milwaukee.
Oprah.
Why? Okay, yeah, sure.
I thought I said from Milwaukee. Oprah.
No,
yeah,
I said technically I said in, so
yeah.
I mean, bring her to Milwaukee.
I just
love
think
that.
she's great. She's a transformational leader.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a lot about her lately, but that's just someone who has been, encompasses everything that I think a female leader for all walks of life has been. So, yeah.
So, PD, let's get Oprah here to meet Kareeda, okay? Because we're also going to ask how we can support you. That's a key element in Better. A part of our mission is doing better, and to me, a part of Better is supporting our women leaders. It might feel random, but there's intention. One data point that you wish you had access to. A data point, like
constantly knowing how long my children are on
tablets?
their tablets in real time.
That might exist, actually. That might exist. One of your favorite people to follow, whether that's LinkedIn, a blog, social media.
I follow our team a lot, and then just all my friends and family. That's really it. That's what I use social media for. I'll amplify a few of our coworkers or partners, but for me, it's just that's how I keep up with everybody. So
you do an excellent job on social media. That's something I aspire to. Is like actually,
thanks.
I got to sit down somewhere to write those things. One pet peeve.
Don't hold the door not holding the door for someone. Don't
No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just that's human. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's. That can be deep, because holding the door is beyond just like the physical
Many
door,
things,
right?
yes.
Women, you had described your biggest challenge being a woman that wasn't holding the door for other women, right?
Yeah,
Don't
literally
be that,
and figuratively.
Don't be right. Don't be that person. One quote, skill, approach, concept that changed your life, and you've given us a couple today, but if there's one that comes to mind that just changed the way that you just look at things forever after you heard it or learned it.
The book, for one. I think the concept that I kind of live by is life comes first. I love my job. I'm going to grind. I'm going to be a hard worker. But if something rises with my family that I need to be there, that has to come first. And that has to come first in all of our lives.
Yep, I love that. If this has ever happened to you or something larger, one thing that you feel like you haven't maybe spoken up about, but you want to, like something that might be like percolating that you're like, I want to say something about this, but I don't know quite that the time is yet or what to say yet.
That one's hard. I say everything. You can ask Alicia. I hold no. I think years of just like holding it in for so long, but the amount of confidence that I've been able to grow in myself and working with others, whatever comes up is coming out.
It's coming out. Okay. Sounds good. And then I got a couple more. One unpopular opinion.
I asked my daughter about this too, and I said, what does mommy talk about? What's an unpopular opinion? She's like, well, probably because you always say not to care what other people think about you, especially at their age. And I said, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to strive to be the best and be the best I can be for my family, my organization. But at the end of the day, if you don't like my hair or you don't like I'm good.
Yeah.
I do what I do for me, and obviously, ultimately, to help others. So
and it can be a hard thing to get to. So
For sure.
there are challenges to getting to that space, especially when you're in such a, like a prominent position, right?
Yeah.
To actually be so comfortable and confident in yourself individually that you're like, I'm happy because I've defined clearly what success looks like for me. One person who would follow you anywhere.
My sister.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to have that.
For sure.
Finally, how can Professional Dimensions show up for you, or if not you, on for our city based on what you've known and learned about us over time?
Nothing personally for me besides continuing to do what you do for women like all of us. I want to applaud you for all that you've done and you guys continue to do. So I think continuing to write, by you continuing to grow is going to help elevate me and everyone else in this room and everyone watching.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you. You all give another round of applause to our guest today, Ms. Kareeda, Chones, Aguam, and we'll be closing out. Once again, another plug. Check your email. I wrote it by myself. No chat GPT. So read every word and sign up for things. Get engaged with committees. Sign up for Ideation Summit. We're going live. Share that information with folks. We have incredible leaders coming in to speak, share their opinions, share their perspective. And as we continue to build this series, if there are folks that you would like to hear from or specific questions and topics that you'd like us to address, give us that information, because we're here. I'm not here. I am the last person that wants to create another nonprofit, another activity, another event. So it has to be really special if we do it. And I want it to really feed and cater to what we're trying to build at Professional Dimensions and inspire you all to continue to give of your time, of your thoughts, of your resources, to keeping the door open and not perpetuating Kareeda's pet peeve of closing doors on people, okay? So we're gonna close out. Thank you so much for being here. And to our folks online, thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.